All right, let's jump right in. We're heading back in time to the turbulent court of King Herod the Great, using the incredible historical account from Flavius Josephus as our guide. What we're about to see is a high-stakes game of succession, where a father's deep regret goes head-to-head with a son's ruthless ambition, with the fate of an entire kingdom just hanging in the balance. Okay, so to really get what's going on here, you gotta know who's who. This is our cast of characters. At the top, you've got King Herod. Then there's his heir, his son, Antipater. But the real shadows hanging over this whole story are his two other sons, Alexander and Aristobulus, both of whom Herod had executed back around 7 BC. Now their kids, Herod's orphaned grandkids, are coming of age, and they are about to become the central pieces in this very, very dangerous game. Keep these names and relationships straight, because everything, and I mean everything, hinges on them. So here's the thing about Antipater. Yeah, he was next in line for the throne, but nobody liked him. In fact, pretty much the whole nation hated the guy. The word on the street was that he had schemed and lied to his father to get his own brothers, Alexander and Aristobulus, killed. So, he had the title, but he was ruling on a foundation of pure fear. Now, what's fascinating is what was going on in Antipater's head. He wasn't sitting back enjoying his position as heir. No, he was terrified of losing it. He'd look at his young nephews, the sons of the brothers he helped get killed, and he wasn't seeing children, he was seeing rivals. He started throwing money around, sending lavish gifts to Roman officials, not because he was generous, but out of pure, calculated paranoia. So while Antipater is just stewing in his own paranoia, his father, King Herod, is being eaten alive by something else entirely: guilt. The king starts to publicly fawn over his orphaned grandkids. And this wasn't just a grandfather being sweet. Josephus makes it clear this was a public display of repentance for having executed their fathers. And you can bet that every kind word from the king was like a dagger of fear for Antipater. So Herod decides, feeling bad isn't enough. He has to do something. To try and secure the future for these grandkids and maybe clear his own conscience, he calls his entire court together to announce this grand, strategic plan. And this quote, wow. It just perfectly captures his state of mind. With tears in his eyes, he's talking to his whole family, his friends. He's basically admitting, look, I have been a terrible father, but he vows to make up for it by being a better grandfather. His whole plan is to build a wall of protection around these orphans by tying them to the most powerful people he knows. And the plan itself is honestly a brilliant piece of political chess, all centered on 3 key marriages. First, he betroths one granddaughter to his own brother, Pheroras. Second, another granddaughter is promised his heir, Antipater. And third, the last one is set to marry his other son, Herod Philip. The logic was sharp and simple. Make the most powerful men in the kingdom the guardians of these children. How could they possibly harm the very kids their own wives were family to? And Herod doesn't do this quietly behind closed doors. Oh no, he makes a huge public spectacle of it. He literally joins their hands together in front of everyone, embraces them, and prays out loud for God to bless it all. As far as he was concerned, problem solved. He'd protected the innocent, secured his line. But he forgot to account for the ambition of one man. Right, so the ink on Herod's plan is barely dry, and his heir, Antipater, launches his counterattack. Because what the king saw as this beautiful act of redemption, his son saw as a direct threat to his future on the throne. Antipater doesn't even try to hide it. He starts wailing and complaining in public. And why? Because in his mind, these marriages just gave his orphaned nephews a set of powerful new protectors. One of them, Pheroras, was a tetrarch. We're talking a regional governor with his own army. Antipater's thinking these kids are about to become powerful, protected, and probably ready to avenge their fathers by taking his head. And this slide right here, this is the whole conflict in a nutshell. You have these 2 completely opposite ways of seeing the same situation. Herod is trying to weave a safety net for his family and his kingdom. Antipater looks at that exact same net and sees a cage designed to make him a powerless king. It is a textbook clash of guilt versus raw ambition. So Antipater knows that scheming in the shadows might not work. He goes straight to his father. He throws himself at his feet, begging him, saying this plan will make him a king in name only. He paints this picture of a future where his nephew has all these powerful relatives holding all the real authority, leaving him, Antipater, as just some useless figurehead. And Antipater's direct plea, this masterful mix of faked desperation and cold, hard political calculation, it starts to work on his father. That carefully built plan to secure the kingdom's future is about to come crashing down. But for a brief, incredible moment, Herod sees right through the act. He absolutely explodes with anger. And you can just imagine this horrible thought dawning on him. Wait a minute, these manipulative stories, these manufactured fears, isn't this the same kind of stuff that convinced me to kill my other sons? He sees Antipater for the manipulator he is, and, just full of rage, he tells him to get out. But Antipater is relentless. He's a pro. He switches tactics. He drops the fear-mongering and lays on the flattery. Thick. And it works. Josephus tells us the king was basically charmed and manipulated by it all. Herod completely caves. He undoes the entire marriage plan, and, in a wild twist, he ends up marrying one of the daughters to Antipater himself, the one man they needed protection from. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, how could Antipater just suggest different marriages on the spot like that? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Herod's family wasn't just a family. It was a sprawling dynasty with plenty of other options on the table. This was the key to Antipater's argument. He could point out that there was absolutely no shortage of royal kids to marry off. And he wasn't kidding. King Herod had, get this, 9 wives. Let that sink in for a second. And 7 of those wives had children, which created this incredibly complicated web of alliances and loyalties. Just look at this partial list here. You've got Antipater from Doris. Then there's Herod Philip from another Mariamne. You've got Archelaus and Antipas from Alphafi. The point is, every wife and every child represented a different faction, a different power base, and another potential piece to be played in this massive Game of Thrones. So, in the end, Antipater won. He completely dismantled a plan that was designed to protect the very children he saw as his biggest threat. And it all leaves us with this one big question. In a court like this, a kingdom built on fear and flattery, where a father's genuine grief can be so easily twisted by a son's ambition, can any succession, any future, ever truly be secure? It seems the house of Herod was more divided than ever.